Welcome back to the farm. We're getting up and getting going this morning, but today I'd like to dive into a business plan, a farm business plan, focused on what we do in agriculture. Mine's obviously focused on sheep. Yours could be focused on any part of agriculture. It's the same simple plan. I'm going to walk you through in very simple steps, but not just to do a paperwork shuffle. I want to build my legacy as a farmer. I'd like to help you build yours. I'm going to help pay the feed bill, make some profit, and maybe even take a weekend off once in a while. That'd be nice, maybe. But if you're anything like me, you take your farm seriously. You have to take it serious if it's a business. And this business plan is going to help you do that. I'm going to break it down very simply. I'm going to give you a free worksheet resource. I'm going to show you some free online resources specifically catered to agricultural business plans. And if that sounds good to you, stick around. It rain's a little noisy on this tin roof, but kind of soothing too. Let's see if we can pull this off. All this background noise. We have to redo it all together, but. Hi, I'm Kyle MacArthur. For the past 5 years, I've been raising Katahdin hair sheep here on my Middle Tennessee farm. And although I'm a new farmer, I'm certainly no spring chicken. Obviously, I'm sure you can tell by looking at me. I just went over the half-century mark, so I've had a little life experience. I've done a few things, but I'm new to this farming thing. But not exactly new to raising sheep. Like I said, I've been doing that for about 5 years. Some major changes in my life last year with my health and my work, my job, my career have kind of helped me into farming, allowing me to stay closer to home and kind of improve my relationship with my community and my family, and I'm excited about it. But if you look back at my genealogy, which I did with my father years ago, almost everybody, without exception from my grandparents back, were farmers. And so while we lost ourselves a little while, not really appreciating that heritage, we all did what we had to do to earn a living for our families. I think I always long to go back to that heritage, and I'm finally getting that chance. We're nestled here in the base of the Cumberland Plateau in a beautiful cove, right at the tail end of the Appalachian Mountains in Middle Tennessee. And I enjoy bringing this land back where it was neglected for years, maybe decades, and you can see the remnants of those past generations of farmers all around me. As I'm clearing tree lines, I find old fence posts that are still surprisingly intact, but very, very old. I know they're old because the wire, the big, thick, heavy gauge barbed wire that's embedded into ancient trees. And of course, ancient around here is 60 or 70 or 80-year-old trees, and that wire is embedded at the base of those trees. So farmers from decades past were working this land with crops and with livestock, and I'm glad to be bringing that back and knowing I'm repeating a tradition from decades past on this very ground. So there was a fella up in Maine about 50 or 60 years ago that developed a breed of sheep from various other breeds. There's lots of information out there on them. It's called the Katahdin hair sheep. I got the chance to hike Mount Katahdin a couple years ago with a couple friends of mine. Beautiful place. But in any case, I brought some of those sheep to my farm about 5 years ago. Just a handful of them. And the sheep have proven extraordinarily resilient on my property. Again, I have very little to no infrastructure here. I've rotated them with some simple electrical netting every week, and they've done exceptionally well. And so, but I learned a lot. I'm going to take all that experience and those lessons learned into my commercial operation here, my profitable operation that I hope to achieve over the next couple of years. Well, the rain's coming back, so it's getting noisy again. But so I could go on and on about these sheep for quite a while, and I will in the future. But right now I want to talk about today's topic, which is planning. If you're going to take into the business world, to a profitable enterprise, you have to plan. My family and I ran a restaurant for a short time, competitive, low margin business where planning was critical. I don't think it's all that different in the farming side. You got to plan. I have a free link in the description below. I'd love you to check that out, where it'll walk you through drafting the different ideas about a business plan and just get your brain working in that general kind of focused area. It isn't as complicated as it sounds. It's a nice worksheet that I've created, and it'll work through a lot of the different notions that maybe you haven't thought about as you take your business enterprise forward on your farm. It helped me through that process. And then there's a link on that worksheet to the University of Minnesota provides a free service through I think it's their extension service, through their agricultural programs, where you can write out a business plan pretty much on anything. And that worksheet will help you plug in the right amount of information, and it will allow you to print out a formal business plan. All right, let's talk about the summary. This is where you're going to start. So we're going to put your big thoughts down on paper. Some people call this the overview. Some people call it an executive summary. Anything you want to put it, it's just the big picture of what your farm is and what you're trying to accomplish. Kip, lie down. Kip is excited this morning. He's been rounding up rams to take down to the meat processor. Then we had a ewe lamb out, so we got to round her up. And so he's been just itching to do more work. Once he gets into that mode, he's hard to settle down, but he needs to chill for a minute so we can talk about this. Lie down. See how long he stays. Anyway, the executive summary, the overview, big picture. It's not complicated. If you had to tell somebody what you do, where you do it, how would you talk to them? I'm not talking about, get out of your mind of talking to some banker on the top floor, but you're on your tractor, talking to a neighbor over a fence, and you're just talking about what you do, how you do it, how many heads you got, and where you're headed, what your goals are, your dreams are. Want to be. So far so good. Kip's still lying down. He's getting better. You're just going to tell me what you do on that worksheet. Put down what you do, how you do it, how many heads you got, and what your dreams are. Where are you going to take this thing? Why are you doing what you're doing, very briefly? You're going to get into that a little bit later, so don't focus on all of that. Now, this overview may drive the rest of the worksheet, or you can do the rest of the worksheet and come back and summarize it in your summary. Once you've thought through all these different things, that might make it easier for some. Or just get some thoughts down on paper about what your farm is. And then you can build on it as you go through the rest of the sections of the business plan worksheet. That was helpful to me. But I would say something like this. I've been farming hair sheep here in Middle Tennessee for the last 5 years to produce meat and improve my pastures through regenerative practices. My intention now is to expand that operation into a profitable enterprise. My first goal in 24 months is to expand to 100 ewes, and then look at opportunities to expand further from there over the next 5 years, with my overarching goal being to achieve a profitable enterprise. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good start. My goal is to be a farmer, and to be a farmer, at least in the sense that I'm talking about it, is to be a profitable farmer. And I'd like to do that. And I'm going to do that through direct marketing meat to consumers in my community, via farm markets and online. And I'm going to produce livestock that others might be able to use for breeding purposes. So there'll be opportunities to do that as well. I think that's a pretty good executive summary. But let's work through it together. I'd love for you to share some of that down in the comments if any of that was helpful to you. Specifically where you're at and where you're going. All right, let's move on. These girls are just a couple weeks away from lambing. And so it's almost exciting times here. Right now, they all seem pretty happy. You see how quiet they are. See a lot of, no knock on anybody else for what they have going on, but it seems like when I watch a lot of folks with sheep, awful noisy. I've seen people have to wear headphones, ear protection, just because their sheep are so noisy. I haven't experienced that. Now lambing, they start to chatter a little bit as they're talking to their young, and their lambs will learn their mama's voice and vice versa. But the majority of the time, it sounds just like this. They don't make any noise. And if they do, if I hear them making noise, I usually know something's up, which is nice. If they were making constant noise, I wouldn't know when something's wrong, maybe. So that's about the only times mine holler is when something's going on. So I go out and check, and chances are they're stuck or falling or outside the fence, and I can take care of business. Look at Kip. He did so good. There he is. Kip, here with me. Let's go, buddy. Good boy. Stop looking. So the other thing you want to think about, you'll see it on the worksheet, is kind of the question where. Where are your suppliers for feed and waters and troughs and fence, portable fence? How much are you likely to use of that? Initial investments, but also replacement expenses. You also want to consider where you're going to process your animals. So are you going to sell meat? And if you are, then you have to get those processed through a USDA processor. Those are limited in supply. So give that some thought, how far you have to drive to get to one of those, how much are they charging for processing those animals, where is your market? Are you going to sell at farmers markets, or are you going to sell through an online kind of a co-op situation? We have both those in this area. We're certainly going to explore how successful those might be for us. And so we have a local auction, thankfully close to here, that moves a lot of small ruminants. It's in Columbia, Tennessee. Where are your suppliers? Where are you going to get replacement livestock from? Have you explored that at all and found somebody that reliably produces lamb every year that you can get replacement ewes from, or where you can get your ram from every year or two when you need to put some new genetics in your flock? So things to think about, right? That instead of doing this planning at the last minute, this business plan will help you kind of walk through that process of thinking where these things are and laying this all out. And so it's just a thought exercise, really. It's right there on the worksheet. You'll see the question where, and you can see those different kind of memory brain joggers there to get you thinking about, well, what does where mean to me in my business plan? All right, let's get back to it, buddy. We're headed to the meat processor this morning, bright and early. Kip, sit. Kip's along for the ride. But this fits right in with our discussions about planning and finding local partners, local resources to achieve your goals. And whereas I had a meat processor much closer to the house, they were not USDA inspected. And so those meat products I received from them basically went in my freezer. I could share them with family and friends, but the government says I can't sell it and make money off those same cuts unless I have a USDA inspected meat processor. So it's not about food safety necessarily. That's a whole nother discussion, because I can share it legally, no problem, and give it away, no problem, but I cannot sell it. I can't put it on the market without a USDA inspection. And so I need to find one of those resources. Until that changes, I need to find one of those resources to achieve my goals, which is to market my meat to a much broader customer base. So it's time to talk money. And don't worry, just talking about it's not going to kill you. But we do have to think about it and write it down. What are our operating costs? What do we earn off of each product we intend to sell? What's the break-even price for our products, for our per pound of lamb for me? I need to know. Lenders, partners, everybody's going to want to see that you have a realistic grip on money coming in, money going out. Include debt payments, future investment goals, emergency reserves, even if it's just a coffee can full of egg money, whatever you got. And let's refer to it as a question: how much? There's a lot of questions that start with how much, right? How much are your expenses? How much are they going to increase? So you might want to forecast some inflation and just the added expense, or look back over the last 3 years, how much livestock has went up in value and cost, and assume the next 3 years will be similar. If not, if you were going to be a little more conservative, probably a little faster growth in prices. How much acreage do you have? How much livestock can you have on your acreage? These are all common questions people ask me. And your local county extension office can definitely tell you, based on the general quality of forage and soil in the area, how many animals it can likely support. Those are generally based on cows, and I don't want to get into all the details of that, but you need to figure out how many animals you can support as you decide your goals, right? Both short and long-term goals. So how much product can you produce? So if you're not doing meat, if you're doing wool, how much wool can you produce based on the current flock you have, based on your prospective flock in a year, 2 years,
How much
5
product-
years? Product does that produce? How much meat does that produce? How much money can you charge for that product? It depends on the market, of course. How much money do you need to grow on the schedule you think you want to grow on? I certainly wouldn't be a huge proponent of borrowing a lot of money to get started, unless you absolutely have no other choice. But I would consider taking a longer approach. I started with 7 sheep, I think, 5 ewes and a ram and a wether. And here I am almost 5 years later with a couple dozen, and now I've decided I've learned enough. I've got enough lessons learned over that 5 years before I decided, all right, I think I could do this. I figured out most of the logistics. I'm still learning a great deal, but anyway, there's a lot of questions that start with how much. How much land do you have? How much livestock do you have? How much livestock do you want? How much money do you think you'd like to make over the next year, 2 years, 5 years? And then once you decide what those goals are, your financial goals, how much product do you need to produce to attain those goals, or to attain that level of financial income and profit that would make it worth all your time. And I'm writing all this down so I can focus on exactly what I need to achieve in a given amount of time to achieve my financial goals. And so how much is a big question you need to ask yourself, and there's a lot of questions that fall under that part of the worksheet. So I couldn't resist a look at the kind of the culmination of all these efforts, of all this planning. These are my lambs from last year, enjoying the pasture and the warm sun, and we're only a couple weeks away from that for 2025, so I'm getting excited about it. I'm really looking forward to sharing that with y'all. But this is the culmination of a lot of planning and a lot of work over the past several years to have these successful culminations in your business. A solid farm business plan isn't just a paperwork drill. It's going to be a tool for you to help your operation grow and grow smart. If you need to get funded, it's going to help you get funded. It's going to help you bear the unpredictable weather that we all know affects us in agriculture. So whether you're pitching a lender, applying for a grant, or just trying to make your multi-generation farm profitable, and it's going to plant those seeds for success for years to come. At the end of the day, the paperwork's not just for the banker's office, though. It's a tool for us to run our farm like professionals. Make sure we're not just working hard, but we're building something, and we have that focused on where we're going. So sit down, take a look at this worksheet. It's free. Download it. Pour yourself a strong cup of coffee, maybe some sweet tea if that's your thing, and sketch this out. Talk to your family about it. I'd love to hear about your farm goals down in the comments, where you're at for sure, what your plans are, what you're building, why. We didn't get in every section of the worksheet, but most of them are self-explanatory. None of them are complicated. Just sit down and take your time with it. There's nothing that has to be done in one sitting. Once you download it, it's yours. We'll see you on the next one. I look forward to it. I'm Kyle MacArthur at Triple H Farms. I'm wishing all of you full feeders, healthy lambs, and just enough rain. Not during hay season, but enough rain to get us through the season. I'll catch you next time.